The New Orleans field office of the Drug Enforcement Administration arrests dozens of people accused of being affiliated with the Mexican drug cartels.
The DEA says that dangerous drug dealers with connections to Mexican drug cartels are responsible for the majority of fentanyl in the United States. Natasha Robin has the story.
For a year, the Drug Enforcement Administration conducted Operation Last Mile. Agents tracked down drug dealers affiliated with the Mexican cartel, operating across the country and right here in New Orleans.
Right now, DEA's top priority is to defeat the Sinaloa and Jalisco New Generation cartels.
Special Agent in Charge Brad Byerly says the two cartels are responsible for the majority of fentanyl and methamphetamine in the U.S.
These are the people that are poisoning and destroying our community.
More than 3,000 people arrested. The DEA says it seized 44 million fentanyl pills and more than 6,500 pounds of fentanyl powder.
That's what we can equate to 193 million lethal doses of fentanyl. That's enough to kill half of the United States population.
The New Orleans Field Division, made up of 4 states, conducted 22 investigations.
We seized enough fentanyl in the 4 states that we cover as part of the New Orleans Field Division to take out the entire state of Louisiana.
Byerly says agents discovered drug dealers were using social media to communicate and distribute their drugs.
They used Facebook, Snapchat, or they've used encrypted types of social media like WhatsApp.
Oftentimes, he says, they target teens who have no idea what they're actually taking.
And they're lacing the other drugs, the methamphetamine, the cocaine, the heroin, and they're also pressing out fake pills. And these fake pills resemble Oxycontin, Oxycodone, Xanax, Adderall.
Besides the large amount of drugs, more than 600 guns were seized by the New Orleans Field Division, showing the connection between the drug trade and violence unfolding on the streets. While Operation Last Mile is over, the DEA says its mission continues.
We know who per se the enemy is that's destroying our communities, and we now know exactly how we need to go after them.
That was Natasha Robin reporting.